The Kinks come dancing here on BBC Radio Cornwall. Well, do you know what? It's gone 3:30, so it's about time for a bit of this. Indeed it is. Now, I think it's fair to say that midlife isn't something that many of us look forward to or are taught to look forward to. Well, the book You Part 2, How to Really Flourish in the Second Part of Your Life, sounds refreshing, doesn't it? It's co-written by husband and wife duo Jane and Campbell McPherson. And Campbell is on the line now. Good afternoon, Campbell.
Good afternoon, Anoushka. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Campbell. Now, this sounds... First of all, before we get into our proceedings, this is our Cakey Tea feature. Have you heard of Cakey Tea before?
No.
Right, so it's a bit of a Cornish thing, and the idea is basically it does what it says on the tin. Loads of cake on the table. You eat loads of cake and you have a cup of tea.
Fantastic. I thought that was supposed to be at 4:00. I'm obviously early today.
A bit early today. So if you were going to have cake, Campbell, what would be your piece of cake?
I'm really boring. I love a carrot cake with lots of thick icing on it, but mushy, lovely, creamy icing.
Oh, yeah, cream. There's nothing boring about that. Nothing at all. Okay, so we're sat here. Are we having coffee or tea? I mean, you could have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee if you want. I really don't mind.
No, it has to be tea this time of day.
Cup of tea. Sugar?
Yeah. No, it will be an Earl Grey with just a dash of milk this time of day.
It's a bit fancy, Campbell. I like it.
I tell you can take the boy out of Australia, but, you know.
Well, this is it. So, Campbell, tell me about this book. It sounds very refreshing. You Part 2, How to Really Flourish in the Second Part of Your Life. Because I think it's fair to say that we are somewhat of a culture, a little bit obsessed with youth. You know, we're not really taught to embrace the midlife. It's something, in fact, that, you know, particularly as a woman, I think, you're taught to kind of dread it, which is so wrong.
It's completely wrong, and that's why Jane and I had to write this together. The genesis of the book, or the idea for the book, came to me a little bit late, to be perfectly honest. It was when I was turned 55, and suddenly the in tray of my email was suddenly filled with ads for Viagra and for tenement adult nappies and for crazy things. It was for pension companies were saying, congratulations, you can now take some of your pension out. And it was as though marketing directors around the world had taken me and put me in a corner and said, oh, bless, you've done your best. Let the young ones get on from now on. And I was incensed. I'd only just worked out what I was any good at, to be perfectly honest. And I certainly worked out what I was never going to be any good at. So I said, Jane, we have to write this book. And then I saw this ad in Zurich airport of this silver fox who was in his yacht sailing across Lake Thun looking fabulous. He was obviously in his 60s, and it said 60's the new 40. And I said, that's it. And so that's when I started to write the book. But when I took that image back to Jane, she hated it. She said, that says to me is that young is better, that youth is better, and looking younger and looking 40. That's when I said, all right, we have to write this thing together because it ain't going to work with it if it's just me.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, there's absolutely no hope in hell I could ever write a book with my husband. We would just tear each other to shreds. So how did you get on well enough? I mean, have you written together before?
Sort of. My second book, which was called The Power to Change. So this is my third one. The Power to Change was all about embracing personal change, and it was more of a business book, really, but it was aimed at employees and people at work. And in that one, I sat Jane down because she's a brilliant yoga teacher. She's a yoga therapist and does a lot of one-to-one yoga, assisting with people. She's just brilliant. And so we sat down and I put my phone in front of in between us and said, okay, tell me about yoga and change. And after the first few minutes where she said, well, you know everything about yoga and change. It's what I talk about all the time. I said, I know, but I'm recording this because we're going to write about this in the book. And that was our first start to writing together. And it worked really well. So we thought, it's been 30 years of marriage. Let's risk it and write this one. And it worked really well. We worked really well together. We're very lucky.
Oh, Campbell, I am pleased. Now, listen, stay there. I'm going to play a song. You carry on eating your carrot cake, have a little bit more tea, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about embracing our midlife.
Celebrate the people who make a difference.
BBC Radio Cornwall.
So you're you're joining me in the midst of my chat with co-author of the book You Part 2, How to Really Flourish in the Second Part of Your Life. It's Campbell McPherson, and Campbell's still with us on the line. Hello, Campbell.
Hi, how you doing? Great songs, great songs.
Are you liking the songs you were sort of
I am.
Because I must inform people that we're Zooming at the moment, you know, this new technology that we learnt to basically lean on throughout the pandemic. Where would we'd be lost without it, wouldn't we, really?
Totally. Well, I wouldn't have a business through the pandemic without it. So,
Isn't that mad?
Fabulous.
That's madness. So, Campbell, this book, we were saying earlier how midlife is painted in a very sort of dull colour, really, isn't it? So how do you enlighten us to kind of really think about embracing the second part of our lives in this book?
Well, it starts with attitude. So in the first section of the book, we've called "This Is Our Time." So it's an indication that it's all about attitude, and we've got so much to look forward to. The first half is gone. All we can do is learn from it and work out, well, what have we got inside? What are we good at? What are we never going to be any good at? And let's adopt the right attitude to do as much as we possibly can. And I don't mean achieve as much or make as much money or start companies, but if that's what you want to do, it's about doing whatever it is that you want to do, identifying what you want to do and giving it your best shot in the second half, because that it's the first half's over. We've only got the second half to look forward to, and it's going to be fabulous.
Well, this is the thing as well. The second half is like as long as your first half. So the fact that when we get
by
to
definition,
the end, actually, yes, yeah. State the obvious, Nush. State the obvious. But what I mean by that is we can't just stop when we get to like 45 and go, right, that's it then, because we've got a lot of years of nothing if that's the attitude. So I love the idea of this. I mean, one reader has said it made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me think.
Yeah, I love that.
And I really like that. And somebody else said Campbell and Jane, who's your wife, obviously, have translated midlife anxiety into a calm playbook. Embracing life's transitions with positivity, can be a game changer. I mean, how does it feel to get comments like that?
Oh, it feels wonderful, particularly the first one. It was it came out of the blue. It was literally a reader who sent through an email to youpart2.com and just saying that it made me laugh, made me cry, made me think. We thought, goodness me, we should have put that on the front cover of the book. It was too late. It was already been published.
Reprint.
Lovely. Yeah, exactly. I'll call Hassett and say, hold the presses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's nice, isn't it? Because obviously you have the concept in your head, like you said, you and Jane sat down, you thought, we've got to write this book. But the fact that it's really resonating with readers, it means that it was, you had to write it. It was the right thing to do.
And what it's not, Anoushka, what it's not is a preachy book. It's not a do as we've done. It's not a story of our ups and downs and trials and tribulations. It's for everybody, but it's positive, but it's also pragmatic. So we know that in the second half, there's all sorts of things going to go wrong, physically, mentally, relationships, parents. There'll be lots of bad things ahead. But there'll also be just as many good things. So the idea is about accepting change. And that's Jane's favorite chapter, is called Radical Acceptance, and the Holy Grail of Contentment is one of the chapters.
Oh, I like that.
And it's about radical acceptance, not just, accepting that, I can't run as fast as I used to, and I'm getting older, and maybe I've been made redundant, and that's negative. It's actually, okay, what are we going to do about it? Because there's no point feeling like a victim. It's easy for me to say, as I'm quite healthy and well right now, but who knows what's around the corner? And no matter even how bad things get around the corner, we have to somehow work out how to accept them and how to turn them to our advantage if we can.
You're quite right. And I do a feature for my Sunday breakfast show, Campbell, called New Beginnings, where I go and meet people that have basically started new stuff, prompted by the pandemic. And basically, so many of them are what you would call sort of second halfers, if you like. People that have gone, right, I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. I got fed up of it. So I'm starting my own business. And
you've got a really good point. Second half doesn't start when you're 50 or 45. For sports people, it starts at 30. It's when your next career is happening. Sorry, I interrupted
no, it's fine. No, I totally agree with you. No, please don't apologise. So I think that the thing that I get from that is you're almost a little bit braver, almost, when you get to that midlife stage, aren't you? Because you think, well, do you know what have I got to lose?
Well, once you can stop and realise the strengths and what you've achieved and the value that you add, and I think that's the that's the first wonderful thing to do. And once you realize that, you think, hang on a second, I'm not as much of a numpty as I thought I was. There's a lot in me that I can then take through to Act Two. And yeah, so that's why we wrote the book. It's positive, but it's also pragmatic. As also, we had to talk about money, obviously, because we somehow need to be able to afford part two. So there's a lot of details in that, but it's written in a way that isn't preachy, isn't textbooky. It's fun to read, but hopefully insightful along the way.
I like that. Act Two. Going into Act Two, I was asking people actually, Campbell, to get involved and text us their favourite age, what was their favourite age. And I suppose I was kind of imagining people would go, 27 or 23. And we had a message in from Joanne, she put 60, because I spent my 60th birthday in a ball dress, drinking Prosecco at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't care what anyone thought. What brilliant, Joanne!
She's my woman. That's fabulous.
Isn't she? She's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Oh, so listen, brilliant. Campbell, before you go, tell everyone the name of the book and how they can get it.
Well, it's very kind of you. It's You Part Two, and the subtitle is Thriving in the Second Half of Your Life. It's available from Amazon.co.uk, and you can also visit youpart2.com for more details than you'll ever want to know about it.
Oh, it's brilliant. Thank you for enlightening us, Campbell. It's been lovely to chat.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed having cakey tea with you. Take care. Bye.
You too.